And you see the rocks there in the foreground? That nice opposing diagonal, see that? That's so cool. It's definitely one of my paintings. It's one of those chicken or eggs things. Did I start doing these kinds of paintings because of this, or? Of course, I imagined doing paintings like that when I was still living in Montreal, which is one of the reasons I came out west. So I guess there's your egg. Okay. I've moved the branches around a little bit here and there, but not that much. Some trees are just perfect. I draw a precise contour drawing in India ink. Then I put the texture on all of the branches and the tree trunk and so on. I started moving into doing these solo tree portrait things. And then I started working on these large canvases. At a certain point, I wanted to have that very dramatic, just rather than focus on landscape and background and having things in the distance and so on. I wanted to just focus on having a real strong tree in the foreground with sort of an abstract background. Well, it's going to go through a few stages where you're going to go, oh, that looks terrible. Oh, that looks good. Don't do any more. Then I do some more. I'm pretty clear about my plan from start to finish long before I pick up the paintbrush. I have the picture of the painting in my mind of what I want it to look like, so I work backwards. I think backwards through the layers. And then I have a plan, and I just execute the plan. And so when I reach the end of the plan, wow, the painting's finished. I think I need to put some snow on. So if I put the snow on, and then glaze the snow, and then work the background again, that all sounds pretty reasonable. So I've loaded the side of my brush with paint, and I don't actually paint it on, I just drag it over the texture. And the texture that I put on before is going to grab the paint. That's where my snow lives. Wow, that's pretty cool. So I'm covering a fair bit of that gold underneath with a veil, and I'm wiping some of it away. So what's cool about it, the gold underneath will shine through. Very clever device. There's an old expression, old, I'm talking hundreds of years old, and they used to say that glazes eat light. And so when you paint in transparent and translucent layers like I do, the painting requires a fair bit of light to shine on it, because the light has to pass through a few layers, and when it hits the white surface underneath, then it reflects back again, and all of the colors underneath start shining through. My favorite painter is Caravaggio. I think a lot of people who study those old painters find him to be quite special. He is in and out of jail, and he was up to all kinds of things. Great painter, oh my goodness. He changed the way people painted forever. Most artists will tell you that 90% of the work goes into the very beginning and the very end of the painting. That's why in the old master studios, they were happy to let their apprentices work on the underpaintings, but the master always showed up at the very end to add the little superlative touches that only the master could add at the very end to make a good painting a great painting. But for now, we'll just settle for a good painting. Okay, done. I was either gonna play cello or blues guitar. Seriously. Cello or blues, and the reason I picked blues is because it's a really good live music for dancing, and that's half the fun of it for me, is dancing around and bouncing around and having a good dance band. When I first started painting fir trees, when I first moved out here and started painting fir trees and all the different fir trees, at first I was sitting in front of the tree or had my photo reference, and I was studying it very carefully because the branches and the way they hang, and it's different with each tree, and the way the trunk twists or turns and all that. And so for the first couple of years, you're really paying close attention to your references until you've done a couple hundred, and then you get familiar with what they look like. And now I can do different types of trees just from memory. I've sort of concluded after all of my studies and research and my own learning, I've concluded that I'm sort of halfway between Rubens and Rembrandt, who are two very different painters. Rubens was very, very, very deliberate, very decisive, very sure-handed. He would carefully plan his paintings, and then he would have them executed within a matter of days, even the biggest paintings. And Rembrandt was less decisive, and he would sometimes labor on paintings for months and months. And of course his paintings ended up with tons of layers on them, 30, 40, 50 layers of paint sometimes, because he would put it aside for a month and then pick it up and start all over again and rework and change things, and different personality. Sometimes I'm like Rubens and sometimes I'm like Rembrandt. Sometimes a painting will come off in 4 or 5 or 6 layers, and sometimes it'll take 30 or 40.